Well, even though we're having some technical difficulties, I made it on the air. Happy to be here. This is cBas After Dark for Nerd News Monday. Yeah, it's a big deal. I have not done Nerd News Monday in quite a little while. And I feel like for now it seems to be reversed. Okay, there we go. Man, there's all kinds of weird shit happening tonight. Like my camera did this really weird white balancing thing where I was unable, like I was bright red, like the white balance was just off by one final level of white balancing or something, but it was really bad. Like, I mean, it was insane. The phone number to call in case you're interested in calling or texting 24 hours a day, 310-776-5869. That is 310-776-COONS. You are able to contact me. I mean, I'm not always able to answer the phone because I have a real job. But in the event you would like to respond, text messages are always welcome. In fact, text messages here during the show, I'm able to actually respond to live. I can actually respond to my Google Voice texts right here on the computer, and you can see them live on the air if you text between usually 10 and 11 California time, which is usually 0500 GMT. I did not start off with the time tonight because I do it because the people who are watching will be able to determine when I'm actually live on the air, thus I'm most reachable. You know, this is a time when I'm completely reachable. I'm almost every night of the week, depending on my work schedule anyway. And it has not worked out very well lately, but I've been glad to keep doing this show as much as I can. The good news that happened today is that my teaching contract got renewed. So I'm able to continue doing the job that I've had, an English teacher, with this company I really like and who I really seem to be, like the students really have this unique way of revering me, to quote Sheldon Cooper. But the students really let me know how above average, I guess, I am. They seem to express an averageness with some teachers at this place. But they seem to say I do use the tools available to teachers in a very unique and positive way. Like they really think the show is very dazzling compared to what other English teachers do. And hey, I'm nothing if not a showman, right? Something about the live radio industry includes a little bit of, hey, look at me, and I'm on the air, I'm on the spotlight kind of a thing. I don't know. These are just personal meanderings that I have not had a lot of time to consider much lately, but I was glad today to learn that my teaching contract got renewed. What we're doing tonight, a couple of stories to bring to you, including we're going to look at hot chicks later, so do not forget about the hot chicks coming up. There is an Arizona State recruitment video, because this is how they do it now, of course, and this video is it's a sorority recruitment video. So, and it's at Arizona State. If you've ever heard me talk about Arizona State, you know that only the hottest chicks go to Arizona State. And for that matter, the hottest men. Like something about, and this is not something I say willy-nilly, but I say this with the confidence of being right, that, I have a lot of information that I've built up to this point, and the information indicates from all the college campuses I've been to, friends of mine have been to, who I trust, or who I've even heard of, the hottest of hot women are at Arizona State. So this is going to be good coming up. Hot chicks coming up. Also, let me go ahead and go to my screen to read exactly what we have coming up. Okay, the robotics revolution, a couple of articles about that, changing the way we live, supposedly. I really want a robot. Anybody who's watched Nerd News Monday knows this. Traffic from Google to Wikipedia has gone down. Why? We'll look at that. The new ASU video featuring hot chicks licking ice cream cones. Why is that in the Nerd News? Hey, I need something to try and make something non-intellectual once in a while, just for fun. And it's kind of fun. And man-made clouds in the sky, man-made clouds are making money. Also, nerdy old phone company videos if I have the chance. I really love to do that. Last time I did it just because it was like anything can happen Thursday, or maybe I even did it on Media Watch Wednesday, just because I felt like it that night. and I haven't done it in a while, so I do feel like I want to do that here. I'm going to promote the show really fast, so feel free to just hang on, grab some popcorn, or maybe, I don't know, something. Live now, plus your calls and tweets, calls, texts, and tweets. I try to include the text messages angle as much as possible. All right, and then I just need the link, which is found where? The link for this broadcast is found here. Okay, and it's taking me really a long time to do this. My apologies. Anyway, we'll save the ASU video later on. I wanted to start at 9:30. We'll be ending at 10:30. I don't know. I really had some technical difficulties getting on the air, and I'm kind of frustrated with the whole thing now. I spent a lot of effort doing this show, and frankly, if it doesn't work out very easily to my sort of delight, then I'm a little bit. I'm very easy. How am I trying to say this? I get very suddenly to the point of fuck it. I don't want to do it. And I don't know if that's me getting old or what the deal is, but anyway. AT&T videos. I was trying to actually find the AT&T video we'll be watching specifically. AT&T film. Let's just see. Because the truth is I had a waiting list of these I was going to bring to the air here. And then I misplaced it. Unix making computers easier to use. Maybe that's just where... Oh, no. Cable to the Continent, a 15-minute long film about laying an undersea cable, 1950. So this is 65 years old. Like, I really think this is impressive. All right, maybe that's where I want to start. You're watching cBas After Dark. This is the phone number. This is the Twitter address. I'm all over the place tonight just because I'm kind of tired and I haven't done a show in a while. I'm kind of out of practice. But it's a good time. Call and text anytime if you have any comments on what we're watching. We won't do this for the whole show, but I feel like I want to start with it. Just because, holy shit, look at this. We will talk about the hot chicks, though, at ASU. And telephones, cable, now let's see here. Telephone cables with amplifiers are being laid from Key West to Havana.
A few paragraphs in a newspaper. Yet behind them is a story of scientific and commercial achievement, many long years in the making. A story of painstaking pioneering, of exhaustive research, of meticulous construction with precision instruments. A story of skillful men and specialized equipment, all working together around the clock on land and sea, through snow, wind, rain, and beating sun, to forge still another link in the chain that makes American telephone service the best in the world. Service so good, in fact, that all of us have come to take it for granted. When you telephone over land, your voice is carried electrically over wires that are relatively easy to reach and relatively simple to repair. But when you're separated by many miles of water, the problem of talking over wire becomes a great deal more complex.
Talking over wire.
There are, of course, no convenient poles to carry the wire, so special ships must lay it on the bottom of the ocean.
Special shifts.
And specially constructed cable must be used. At the exact center of the cable, conducting the voice current, is a small copper wire surrounded by a layer of tough plastic insulation called polyethylene. Over this is a flexible tube wound of thin copper ribbons that completes the electrical circuit. Then armored with a wrapping of steel wires, and so further protected with another layer of juice.
Of what?
To keep your voice from fading
Juice?
out, to make it as strong at the other end of the line as though you were talking to your next door neighbor, your voice is strengthened with amplifiers. Unfortunately, there are no handy islands to house the amplifiers, so the most practical way open to Bell Laboratories engineers was to design a new type amplifier that could be built right into the cable. The vacuum tube is the heart of an amplifier.
The vacuum
The
tube.
tubes ought to last for about 20 years of continuous service to avoid the costly process of lifting the cable, as well as the accompanying interruption of telephone service. So, one of the first requirements was the development of such a tube. And when the endless work was turned into a finished vacuum tube, its appearance gave no real hint of the over its predecessors. By the time the new tube was ready, engineers had devised an amplifier in what you might call sausage-link form. Each amplifier unit is built into a plastic cylinder and electrically connected to the next unit by flexible metal ribbons.
Wow.
This permits the entire assembly to bend almost as freely as the cable itself. The casing is reinforced by a system that protects the delicate parts against the tremendous deep-sea pressures. When they were completed, the amplifiers were little larger than the rest of the cable. The cable itself was first loaded aboard gondolas, and from them into the cavernous holes called tanks of the cable ship Lord Kelvin, where it's expertly laid in coil
Cable ship.
to make certain it will pay out properly. Finally, the Lord Kelvin pointed her nose toward the warmer waters of the Florida Straits. 100 miles southwest of the tip of the United States, known as Key West, and south of the so-called horse latitudes, is Havana, capital of Cuba and southern terminus of the new submarine telephone cable. Four earlier underwater cables telephone link with the world for 20 years, but their maximum capacity was no longer adequate. So from Key West to Havana, two of these new cables were to be laid. First, cables were laid by barge in the shallow water between Key West and Sand Key, and the end secured to marker buoys.
Marker boys.
This
Buoys.
time, the Lord Kelvin had steamed past old Morro Castle into Havana's harbor, made her official port call, and was ready to start the deep water laying.
I love the tripod work. Very shit, like
Rowed out to the Lord Kelvin and attached to a section of double armored cable. Then, with oil drums floating the cable, it was slowly pulled into shore by a winch. The job of releasing the suspended cable from the oil drums was just plain, especially when the weight of the cable pulled the last few drums underwater and the workmen had to dive for them. Soon then, the Lord Kelvin headed toward distant Sand Key, with the cable paying out across her decks over the large pulley or shiv built into a prow and down along her steel sides to the bottom of the sea. Instead of proceeding only by dead reckoning, the ship followed a planned course along a series of marker buoys previously put into position by careful navigation. These buoys, some equipped with radar reflectors and lights, were readily spotted, and the Lord Kelvin was held on a precise course throughout the operation, day and night. About 40 miles from Havana, the time came to pay out the first amplifier. The ship was slowed down, of course, for this was a ticklish proposition.
ticklish.
But easy did it, and in a little more time than it takes to tell, the first amplifier was well astern. The dynamometer operator is one of the busiest score specialists aboard.
Score specialist.
He must constantly adjust the cable drum brake so the cable will lie properly on the ocean bottom, not too slack not too tight. Of course, everyone is busy on a cable ship, and as the Lord Kelvin plowed steadily northward, the second amplifier was dropped into place. This cable will be the path for one side of the telephone conversations it will carry, along with the power to operate the vacuum tubes spliced into the cable. Soon Sand Key is reached, and the men fish out the buoy chained to one of the two cables previously laid from Key West. More tedious splicing is required now. First, every layer of armor, jute wrapping, and metal ribbon must be carefully unwound, because to make the splice, each component of the cable must be joined to its counterpart in the other end. An exacting job, for the splice must be at least as strong as the rest of the cable. After the polyethylene insulation is stripped away, the center conductor is welded together. Then polyethylene insulation is heat and pressure molded into place to preserve the electrical strength of the splice. Then the copper ribbon is replaced and secured. And after that, the jute winding and the heavy steel armor. Each splice is given a thorough electrical check. This splice will complete the electrical path along the cable just laid from Havana on into Key West. A second cable, with its 3 amplifiers, will carry Cuban-American conversations in the other direction, as well as the current to operate its amplifiers. So from Havana, the Lord Kelvin gets underway again. Once laying mile on endless mile of cable out of her cavernous tanks, and once more maintaining constant check on her position. And so it was, without the slightest hitch, more than 220 miles of the first cable of its kind was finally laid inch by inch on the bottom of the blue Florida Straits.
Yeah, crazy.
Already, operators at switchboards separated by more than 100 miles of tossing sea have been trained to handle an added flow of calls. For not 1, not 2, but 24 uninterrupted conversations can be carried at one time through 2 black steel armored cables. Cables no larger than a man's wrist. Perhaps it's right that we should take such things for granted. For after all, we live in a country where taking good things for granted is possible.
Okay. Just wow. I mean, I'm so floored by that, I can't even tell you. And the fact that I just kind of picked that one because it was, you know, the oldest. I guess that's part of what wows me about it. But man, that undersea cable, like the detail, I'm really liking the detail. I did not know 3 amplifiers used to be needed in each direction, you know. I mean, back then they were talking about the development of this special amplifier for this special phone technology. Like, I mean, I think that's totally nerdy and totally Nerd News Monday worthy here on cBas After Dark. It's 9:55 on the West Coast, 0455 GMT on Tuesday morning, September 1st, if you're watching in Europe. And we're doing Nerd News Monday. I started a little early, or I meant to start early, and I was early. I was not as early as I wanted to be. Technical difficulties pushed back the opening of the show to like 36, but I'm going to stop at 10:30 on the nose. Unless we're having a particularly good time. I want to do another of those films, but let's actually do what we promised to do and cover the stories that I was teasing earlier. Let me go ahead and bring to us, I need to switch applications for a minute here. I need to find, let's see here. Okay. Here is one of them, and I will tease you again with this. If you like looking at hot girls, there are no hotter girls than the ones at Arizona State. This is from the website brobible.com, kind of a bro blog, but we have this video we will watch of these sorority chicks making faces and eating ice cream on camera. That's coming up. But not yet. Not yet. No, no, no. Traffic from Google to Wikipedia has massively tanked. Why? They looked at this in Slate and the good old website. I mean, this is becoming kind of a major news site for me. Not that I'm saying I think it's unbiased, but I think it's actually biased in the reasonable ways and in the reasonable amounts. This post originally was from Business Insider, according to the folks here at Slate. But the amount of Google traffic sent to Wikipedia has declined by more than 250 million visits per month, according to a web traffic measurement company. And they're saying it is a mystery. What I saw shocked me. Wikipedia lost an insane amount of traffic in the past 3 months. And by insane, I mean that the free encyclopedia site lost more than 250 million desktop visits in just 3 months. So, I mean, if you can see the graph here, it doesn't look that drastic, but when it's in billions, that's quite a lot of hits. And I mean, the difference is not billions. The difference is a quarter of a billion, 250 million. And of course, the people are saying they suspect Google has changed its search algorithm to favor actual brands and company websites rather than the Wikipedia entries about them. Wikipedia has long since been a huge competitor for brands in terms of website traffic. Search engine officials aren't crazy about it because it takes on a huge chunk of our traffic. What Wikipedia taketh from other sites, Wikipedia also giveth. The site is so massive it drives a fair amount of traffic onward to other sites. That the less traffic Wikipedia gets, the less it can give. I've often said that about Wikipedia. Really my favorite thing about it, it should never be your source for like a school paper or a journalistic report, but it can begin to give you sources. It can give you places to look. It's a good kind of index. You have to fact check. You have to make sure your shit is right. But I've heard some professors say, no, Wikipedia. And that's true, except when I say there's an asterisk, I mean that it's actually a good place to start to get articles. Now, so is Google. But you got to know how to do a search for Google. And Wikipedia, if you can find an article on something, there are references on the bottom. And as long as you check them out reasonably, it's a good start for a lot of things. Business Insider asked Google for comment, but they've not heard back. So let's speculate. One of the major trends happening at Google is the company's preference for inserting its own content above the content of other non-Google websites, even when those sites may be better resources than Google. So Google's kind of favoring its own map stuff over other maps, I guess. I mean, they have awesome maps at Google, perhaps the best in the world. As far as online, regular user, GPS map type things, I think Google does a good job. Apple clearly did not start out well. I'm sure Apple has improved their thing since the beginning of it in, 2012 or something? That Apple Maps was a joke, and it resulted in a guy getting fired. Okay, let's go back to the article for a second because I do want to share this with you. There's a screenshot here you got to see. In case it's not clear, and I assume for many people it's not clear. By the way, ding ding, 10 o'clock on the west coast of the U.S. 0500 GMT. cBas After Dark started 25 minutes ago just to get a start early. Here's the phone number. Okay, back to the article I want to share with you. One of the major trends happening is Google's preference for its own stuff above the content of other non-Google websites, even when those sites may be better resources. For instance, if you try to Google who won the World Cup last year, you might get this Google result. Okay, here's your Google search, and here is the thing you see. Big letters, logo, information. This is not a website. This is Google's own stuff. This is part of Google, this stuff. And now, FIFA's official website does come in second, or actually first even among actual website links, but above website links are kind of information coming to you from Google. Wikipedia is now fourth, though, on that list. If you click on that down arrow that Google provides for roster and overview, you get a capsule on the German team. This little down arrow here will give you more information if you click on it. A few months ago, that click might have gone to Wikipedia. Several information aggregation companies are suffering, most notably Yelp. Yelp has repeatedly and loudly complained that Google's own promotion boxes on the top of search engine results pages are siphoning traffic from better quality sites that probably should, in any reasonable sense, come at the top of the results. Okay, interesting. There's an update as well from Business Insider. Wikipedia founder Jimmy Wales, you may have seen him on, I think he was on 60 Minutes not long ago. SimilarWeb initially said it believed Wikipedia had lost 250 million desktop visits from Google. The research company then published a second blog post which said 550 million clicks had been lost. Wikipedia co-founder Jimmy Wales agrees there's a traffic drop but contends it is a long-term issue and not a sudden drop. Wikipedia's desktop organic search is suffering, and the losses are bigger than previously thought. More than 500 million losses as far as lost clicks. It's more than a 20% decrease. This is the second post from that research company. But Wales tweeted last night, one, dear SimilarWeb, in fact, direct referrals have been increasing in the last few months, and he cites an article with information. I hope you're finally able to retract the silly claim that my comment when I said your story was wrong was confirmation. And 3, later this month, a blog post will take a comprehensive look at all this. In the meantime, back away from the clickbait. I love Jimmy Wales. I like him. If you take a look at his long-form statement about the numbers, it turns out the underlying truth is complicated. Wales takes particular issue with the headline. Wikipedia suddenly lost a massive amount of traffic from Google, but then he confirms traffic is down. We know there's a long-term issue with decreasing traffic from Google, but this article makes it seem like something new and sudden and massive has happened. The alleged decrease in traffic happened between March and July, so whether or not that counts as sudden is a matter of interpretation. That seems fairly sudden, but if you zoom out on that graph, it won't probably be as big a deal. Wales also tweeted a report on Google referrer data, and it concludes no direct data shows a decrease in Google traffic. In fact, direct referrals from Google have been increasing rather than decreasing in the last few months. They report they use page views as a measure rather than visits, different type of clicks, and thus not directly comparable. So page view traffic has also declined. Sampled logs versus unsampled logs. It's hard for me to even understand this stuff, but Google referrals as a percentage of all Wikipedia traffic have gone up. This would suggest there have been no changes at Google that have hurt Wikipedia, but because that last chart is delivered as a percentage of Wikipedia's traffic rather than the actual number, it's hard to say whether it shows Google is sending more or less traffic. Oh my God. So this gets really complicated really fast. I do like that stupid keychain I see there with the whatever that glowing light is. I mean, you don't like usually clicking on ads, but let's see here. It's for a website called Touch of Modern. I will go to the website. Let's Google Touch of Modern. Oh, of course, I cannot type. Sometimes, I've said this repeatedly on this very show, sometimes Google's websites and the app that I use, for instance, to do this very show, will stop allowing input to come in from the keyboard when, like, I can type on Firefox, I cannot type on Chrome. And by the way, it includes the physical keyboard I attach to my machine as well as the digital keyboard that I can bring up with a touchscreen. Neither of those will work. So that tells me, along with the fact that it works in Firefox, that this is a problem with Google's websites. Anyway, I can't do much if I can't type. One time I think it came back on its own. Anyway, as I say, that is a very complicated issue. I was going to type in Touch of Modern. Where's my iPhone? Google, Touch of Modern. Let's see what Siri says here.
Searching Google for Touch of Modern.
Okay, you saw the time there, by the way, 10:06 p.m. west coast of the U.S. It looked white because there's nothing on the screen. Okay, here we go. touchofmodern.com. I just want to see the stupid keychains. Hey, this is nerd news, and that's a nerdy keychain that glows. Kind of weird. Come on now. Oops, did you enter a valid email? Please try again. I'm not going to give you my email. Hell no, I'm not going to give you my email because you're the kind of website that will send me something every day, and I don't always get around to unsigning up for. So it depends. I mean, I have a certain account that most of that shit goes to, but even then, I don't like doing it. Every so often you have to. This website is choosing not to load on my iPhone, so fuck it. We'll do it another day. And if I end up with a glowy keychain on the show one day, you will know that I actually went to that website and bought myself a stupid little toy. Let's do the ASU Hot Girls video. This is the time you have been waiting for if you were waiting for the hot chicks. Why nerd news? Well, again, why not? I have to do something to attract people. How silly, this website says, are these Delta Gamma girls? The answer is so fucking silly. So I don't understand the post fully, but I will show you the video just because this is where I went to college. I did not join a fraternity or a sorority. Let's just say I'm familiar enough with it without having to have been in there myself. But follow me through the life of DG. Delta Gamma. Full screen is unavailable. Okay. I mean, you know, this is kind of what recruitment is like, I guess. I don't really need to hear the music anymore, but I promised you girls licking ice cream cones, and we will have ASU chicks doing ice cream cones here in a second. I guess they all have to hold hands because that's like their Delta Gamma thing. Oh my god. There they are driving on, that is Mill Avenue, north of Tempe, or north out of Tempe, into Scottsdale. Delta. They lay around in hammocks in little outfits, and they swim in swimming pools. Probably Delta and Gamma shaped swimming pools. Alright, blah blah blah. They get pizza, I guess. That's cool. I like pizza. Alright, now here's the ice cream. Is that the D logo with their arm they're making, like Delta or Gamma or whatever? So did she slide down that thing with a GoPro? Okay. Yeah. I don't know. As far as sorority chick group, looks pretty darn impressive. Oh man. This is University Avenue. That spot right there on top of that bridge that we're going under in the car. Oh, man. The history I have with that spot, that bridge. I climbed that bridge 18 times a day, I feel like, because my dorm was just on the other side of University Avenue, and this overwalk kind of bridge thing connected my part of campus, the north part of campus, the dorms I lived in, with the rest of campus. So literally from my very first day, I was on that very, I mean, just, you know how you get weird and nostalgic when you see something that rings a bell? I didn't see anything in that video that rung a bell until this bridge. And then I'm like, oh man, that's my bridge. It's also, it connects also the fraternity side of campus with the rest of the buildings on campus. Good times. ASU. University Avenue. If you see, I was hoping they would go down because you would have seen my old college radio station there on the left if you had had the right shot. I don't know. Is that like special Delta Gamma jewelry and special chicks with special sparklers and setting up Mr. Wizard hot air balloon? Not bad. Something about college girls. I don't know. I mean, they're I guess they're kind of annoying in some ways and cute in others, but I feel like that video is more cute and more impressive than even I like to admit. I was not a supporter, really, of the Greek system at Arizona State, but I do know that the frat boys, especially, are like probably the single hottest group of, or just men at ASU in general, frat boy or not, though. But they're like, for instance, there was a time the entire football team was jaywalking across the street in front of me when I was driving, right there on, I think it's called Sun Devil Drive, right in front of the ASU Sun Devil Stadium. And I was, it's one of those things where I'd be mad a whole bunch of people are crossing all at one time, just jaywalking, but it's the football team in their football outfits. And I'm like, yeah, life could be worse. There are times when I return to that spot in my mind. That is just across the spot on campus there. Just like my dorm was right there, and then there's that bridge I showed you, and then the walkway at Sun Devil Drive. College nostalgia is not what you came here for, but shit, I gave you girls licking ice cream cones, so let me have a little nostalgia while we're at it. From the same video, no less. All right, is that all the stuff I was going to bring? It seems like there was other stuff I was going to say. The robotics revolution, I've talked about that before. Man-made clouds raining money. That would actually be good. Let's see here. Man-made. Man-made clouds. Really? Man-made did not show up in any search results. I know, I saw that article here. Let's do that again. Search for clouds. There we go. Oh, there's a hyphen in the middle of man-made that I didn't get. All right. Let us return. Here's the article. Man-made clouds. Now, I mean, I wonder, in all this era of climate change, and do we acknowledge it? I think the consensus is yes. Is it our fault? I think the consensus is also yes. Check out that cloud, though. A heart-shaped cloud flies in Jingzhou City in China. A man-floated, man-made cloud above the road. The clouds shaped like stars, hearts, and marshmallows. They were created by the cloud machine, which is like a large freezer. The machine mixes the compressed gas, which is lighter than air, and foaming liquor, making the clouds soar hundreds of meters above the ground. Just the way this is written indicates it is not written by a native English speaker. I can tell you right now, there have been little mistakes in here that I don't even know if I can. I mean, this is ChinaDaily.com.cn, so I believe it's probably a legit source. It's a news source I know from there, but I just don't know if it's valid or not. I guess liquor? Really? Alcohol? Is that what that meant? Lots of visitors came to watch the event. There's the man-made cloud. It looks just like a bunch of foam, but how does it float? Is my question. Is it lighter than air? Does it drop from an airplane? Like, exactly what is it? This article does not have a whole lot. These are pictures. The boy tries to create cloud with the help of adults. See, again, these little mistakes, English-wise, are what... A boy creates cloud successfully and flies it to sky. Okay, so I mean, I've heard of cloud seeding. This is different than that, it looks like, but they're making money for people. I don't know if they're helping anything environmentally. That looks like it might actually be doing environmental damage somehow. And they didn't say if it was harmless or not. Do a news search here. Man-made clouds. Not a thing. But nothing on man-made with 2 words. If I make it 1 word, still nothing. Yeah, okay. That's fascinating. Hey, let's watch more videos of this thing. I only have about 15 minutes left of this show, although I'm kind of feeling a video here. That little 10-minute documentary about the transatlantic cable was badass. Let's watch an even older one about microwave, television, and the telephone. Oh man, 1946.
Television has a lot of people talking.
Oops, sorry, clicked the wrong thing. That's my fault.
Asking questions too.
Back to the man
Questions
here.
like, are television stations linked together by the bell system the way radio stations are connected? Well, that's one question we can answer. But first, let's look back to the beginning of cross-country telephoning. In those days, there were a few wires strung on slender poles. But as the demand grew, more and more wires were added to the poles.
Wow.
In some of the larger cities, this led to overcrowding of poles.
Overcrowding of poles.
Something had to be done. So Bell system engineers began looking for ways to make the wires smaller and to pack them into lead-covered cables.
Nice animation. I love it. Whoa.
Today, these cross-country cables carry hundreds of wires, sometimes overhead, and
Sometimes over hill, sometimes over dale.
As time went on, and people found they could talk farther and hear better.
I mean, look. All right, I have to stop. This is only a 5-minute video, but just for a second, hold on. Look at the microphone and just the presentation. Like he's a guy reading a script for a radio network, like in the old 40s, which is what it said it was. But just the, conceptually, this would not survive a pitch meeting today, because he's not addressing the camera directly. There's no teleprompter. There weren't them in those days. And, but I'm just, I feel like that choice to have, because many other videos of roughly that era, films of that era, have a narrator, but we never see him. So to see him is, I think, a weird choice for the producer of this video, like to have the guy on film reading the script into a radio microphone instead of having some kind of animation or film or voiceover kind of thing going on. I'm fascinated by shit like that. Let's go back to this show here. I'm sorry for interrupting. This is really good though.
More and more telephone calls were made. Telephone research men then had to find ways to make these wire pathways carry heavier traffic. Ways to place more calls on each wire, yet keep the calls separate. This was done with what came to be known as carrier systems.
Carrier systems.
It was first used on open wires, then on the pairs of wires inside the cables. As the need for still more calls developed, a wider electric highway was needed. A new type of line structure was found. It was given the name coaxial. Now, a coaxial is really a copper wire strung through the center of a copper tube. But a single pair of these coaxials will carry hundreds of telephone conversations at once.
Awesome.
Put 8 coaxials into a cable, and you have a small, compact unit.
Yeah, you do.
More calls can be carried at one time through this coaxial cable than could be carried by all 3 of these large conventional cables. Telephone engineers realized that this broad communications highway called coaxial could also be used to carry television programs from city to city. Thousands of miles of coaxial cable.
Television programs.
The country.
All right, I'm stopping again. I'm sorry. This is something that needs comment because he said that very casually, and I almost missed it. But you think about it. He was announcing the beginning of cable television when no such thing existed. That is the shit that blows my mind. When people talk about a technology that doesn't exist yet, as though it's kind of an everyday thing. That guy did that just then. He's like, these same cables could someday transmit television programs from city to city. There wasn't really a TV network system yet in that time even, I think. It certainly was in its infancy years, if it existed at all. So, I mean, man, just the concept of, hey, wow, we could transmit a cable show from Chicago all the way through, to San Francisco or whatever the hell. I like that. I mean, today that seems such a easy thing to do. You can do it from your phone wirelessly, literally anywhere that your phone has service, data service, You can now transmit a video. I could do this show from, my bed if I wanted. I don't know, man. It blows my mind.
Now form an important part of America's long-distance telephone system and television network. There is another method of carrying hundreds and hundreds of simultaneous telephone calls and also television programs. It's called radio relay.
Radio relay.
In 1920, the first radio telephone service in history was established from Catalina Island to the California mainland. Bell telephone engineers continued their research into radio for telephone use. This brought to the public such things as overseas telephone service, calls to and from ships at sea, and many other applications of radio. Before World War II, we started using very short waves for telephone use between such places as Norfolk and Cape Charles, Boston and Provincetown. During the war, even shorter waves have come into use. And radio telephone for military purposes brought new techniques called microwaves. Following the war, these were applied to a microwave system from New York to Boston. Here's the way it works. Microwaves shoot out like searchlight beams between transmitters set on high places. From New York, the beam is trained on Jackie Jones Mountain. Then it's picked up and relayed station by station to Boston. These microwave radio beams do about the same job in the air as the coaxials do underground. Carry hundreds of telephones.
That's a good effect too. I like that little animated.
Or carry the sight and sound waves of television. A good example of this is the Bell System's transcontinental microwave radio relay system.
Wow.
A chain of 107 microwave towers from coast to coast, designed to carry telephone messages and television. Well, there you have them. Coaxial cable and radio relay. Two new economical ways by which hundreds and hundreds of long-distance telephone calls and intercity television networks are provided. They are products of continuous research, development, and manufacture that will better serve the communication needs of the nation.
And he just looks off, and then it cuts to black. Wow. I mean, again, just these people didn't know how to put pictures on film yet, or with any style anyway. They had it was so new, they didn't have really a concept even. I feel like of how to sort of make something attractive, or I don't know. 1946 was really early, so I should not really be like complaining about it, and I'm not complaining. I'm just observing. Just him putting his script down and looking up and looking off camera. I expected to see him shrug and say, "Are we done?" All right. I just got a text. It's a personal text, so I'm not going to share it with the audience. But I will tell my little microwave story here really fast because holy shit. I remember my microwave story. One of the engineers I used to work with at the radio station, it was back in 1993 or 4. I remember talking with the engineer and hearing him say that if you're ever at a microwave site, one of those microwave places, and you suddenly have to pee, move your ass because your kidneys are heating up from the microwaves. Literally, those microwaves are the same microwaves that heat up water and cook some foods in our microwave ovens, right? Why can you stare in the window? Because there's that little grill, that little metal grill that the microwaves cannot penetrate. So that allows you to even stare right into it and not get cooked. My job as an intern, even earlier than that radio job, I think, was to stand in front of the transmitter. We had a live transmitter in a truck on a thing, and then we had another portable one that was like the size of 2 suitcases, or a suitcase and a tripod. And my job was to stand in front of the little transmitter on top of the tripod. It looked like a big laser gun. And make sure nobody stood in front of it. Like, I guess people could walk and it wouldn't really do anything. It would disrupt the signal, though, I guess. Anyway, that used to be part of my job as an intern back in the days of television. Back when there was hope no, there's still hope. I'm actually kind of increasing in my. It's been difficult not being in the news business lately, and then all of this sort of stuff happening. And as I was saying in the collective earlier, something about it was hard not to picture myself both as the victim and even as the shooter in that media shooting that happened. Because, like, I was, I'm a gay former reporter and whatever else, but I never, had to have the police called on me when I was fired, kind of a thing. And I've been fired a couple of times. No one in the business hasn't, so I'm not tripping on that. But the good news, as I said at the top of the show, my teaching contract got renewed today, so it's good week starting off for cBas here. Questions and information, as always, can go here. We're kind of out of time. I did want to wrap it up at about 10:30 anyway. We're about 3 minutes early, and I don't know if I need to pad anymore, if I should just go ahead and say goodnight. Which I think I will do, because I think the battery is also considering conking out, and I think it's just about time to say goodnight. Do be in touch. Tomorrow's Game Show Tuesday, and I have maybe a couple of British things we'll do tomorrow. I love British game shows more than I can really say. And yeah, anyway. It has been a good Nerd News Monday. I'm glad I'm back doing this. Do look for Nerd News Monday again. Next Monday at this time, I'll have more nerd content and less just watching of movies, but those movies were something else. And I really like doing that. And I do have a lot of stories to cover. I'm just sort of not boring with it. In this business, sometimes you come up with, a rundown, or you're always kind of, making a note for what you will talk to on your what you will talk about on your show. I could use that, or I could do a story on that. That kind of a thing. I was a reporter for a long time, trying to be creative and think of new things to do stories on. And I still do that now for this show. And so, but then you have this list of stuff. Okay, here's Nerd News Monday. Here's all the nerd stories. I don't want to talk about that. I don't really feel like talking about that either. Like I'm sort of editing as I go. And there are sometimes I just don't feel like talking about it. But I've had a good couple of nerd newses recently that you can watch. Maybe not very, very recently in the past couple of weeks, but like over the summer and over this year, I've actually had a couple of really good episodes. And by the way, the episode of the Fast Food Junk Food podcast from this past weekend was really solid too. Do check it out on youtube.com/Sebastian Central. You can always comment. You can always send me a tweet or a text to that number. I'm cBas. This is cBas After Dark. We'll see you for Game Show Tuesday, which is also September the 1st. Good night.